Have the course number. Welcome to, I think it's P1008, if I remember correctly, Intro to GIS. This is the Geographic Information System. And I'll be joined tonight by my amazing colleagues whom I'll introduce shortly. I am Leah LaRue, and I'm the Director of Neighborhood Planning Units at the City of Atlanta in the Department of City Planning. I'm joined tonight by a few of my coworkers. I'll introduce my team and then I'll save the others and let my coworker introduce his team. Daniel Vasquez is our Resources and Support Manager.
Good evening, everybody.
Thanks, Daniel. Ida Santana is also here with us tonight. She is our Program Operations Manager.
Hello, thanks for coming.
And Kip Dunlap is our Resources and Support Coordinator.
Good evening, all.
I think that's it, right? Yeah, that's it. Okay, great. So we're going to get into a few of the what do you call that? Housekeeping stuff before we move on. I don't know who's driving, but it's not me. Y'all can see how NPU University goes when Samantha's not here, right? Every time Samantha takes vacation, we kind of like, who's doing this, who's doing that? All right, so classroom rules, please do keep your microphone muted at all times. If you need to ask a question during Q&A during the appropriate time, you can raise your hand and I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. If you've been here before, you already know that some instructors prefer to take questions as they go along, and some instructors prefer for class members to wait until the very end and then ask their questions, or wait until breaking points to ask questions. Paul will let you know how he will prefer to take questions, but either way, please make sure you raise your hand before you unmute your microphone. If you haven't already grabbed a pen and paper, this is a good time to do that. I can tell you, of all of our classes, this one is probably the one that requires the most note taking. Well, maybe that was just for me, but it's because there's so much to learn and there's often a lot that you didn't know that they can show you. Our GIS system is always evolving and getting better, and there's always new stuff in there to see. So we want to make sure you have a pen and paper or something to jot down your notes. If you are taking this course for credit, if you're in the Citizen Planner Certificate Program, you have to have your camera on in order to receive credit. And last but not least, if you do have a question, your question must be relevant to course content. It is so tempting to go slightly off topic or sometimes very off topic. Please do not do that out of respect for the other class members. They all appreciate when we have a focused presentation here and focused instruction. All right, so if you'd like to raise your hand, at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a button that says reactions. When you click on that button, you will get a pop-up. At the bottom of that pop-up, you'll see the button that says raise hand. That is how you raise your hand. If you haven't done it in a while or you don't know how to do it, you can go ahead and practice and we'll ignore your hand and we'll take it back down. All right, next and final. Okay, so our instructors for tonight are Paul Thomas, who is our GIS manager, and I'm going to let him introduce his amazing team. Paul, I'm passing the baton to you. Thank you so much for being here, all of you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank Leah and her team definitely for inviting us once again, and Samantha, who's not here today, for another round of, I think this is like our second or third year doing this. And so it's always interesting. The crowds get larger, a lot of information to be shared, and with everyone within the city, this is something we really enjoy. First of all, my team, this is kind of our team has grown, which is great. So we have one additional person on our team that's not listed, that's not in view, but my name is Paul Thomas, and I'm the GIS manager for the Department of City Planning. And we also have Mr. Stuart Henderson, who's our GIS analyst, Mr. Carl Chaston, who's also a GIS analyst, Mr. Graham Pickering, who's our GIS coordinator, and who's not visible here is Mr. Prince Bunsu. He's our new GIS analyst also. And so you'll be hearing from him very shortly, So in general, how many, well, I guess I can say show of hands, but I'm pretty sure all of you have, if you're on this course, you've dealt with GIS in some manner, some form or fashion. Many of you have been introduced through our website, or just simple as everyone has used a Google application itself, you know. And so through Google, it's like the simplest version of GIS itself, being able to search something geographically from our address or parcel or some spatial reference, and being able to identify where that location is in space. And so pretty much what we do from a city's perspective, we do the exact same thing. But the information we have is more of the city related information on the back end. So you get information on your parcel, your zoning, what you can and do within the city, some of the things that we build the applications, and so from development standpoint. So we build a lot of applications using the same premise, but allow you to be able to access resources within the city, and we share a lot of our data also. So with that, we're going to jump right into it. I know we have about 2 hours here, so it's a lot of information. So we want to make sure we cover as much as we can and leave a lot of time for questions and answers. And what I do like to do is, because an hour and a half is a long time to hold to the end to ask questions. So what we're going to do is, after we complete a section, you know, we'll open it up for 1 or 2 questions pertaining to that section or whatever we just discussed. You know, we don't want to talk about a seller, you know, something that's a problem you had 2 weeks ago, but we want to make sure it's relevant to the discussion we have right now. So we want to keep it flowing. And then we'll leave the last probably half an hour or so for open-ended questions about anything GIS related. So to get started, we have Mr. Carl Chaston. He's going to really go over just an overview of the navigation and how you access our GIS website itself. And I'm pretty sure most people have have probably our planning view or property info pin, and you go straight to the website, straight to the GIS website, but you never go to the home page to see all the information that we actually have available to you. So he's going to kind of navigate that, how to get to it, and navigate that home page itself. And then we'll move forward from there. So Carl, it's all yours.
All righty. Can everyone see my screen? The city of Atlanta.
Yes.
So you go to our friendly Google, put in the city of Atlanta. Trying to give everybody a simple way to get to our website through just going through a simple search for the city of Atlanta. So if you go to Google, put in the city of Atlanta, click on city of Atlanta. You see our great city of Atlanta website. When you get here, go to governments. Once you get to government, go down to city planning. Click on city planning. Once you go to city planning, you'll see our city planning website, along with our new commissioner, Ms. Prince. If you look to the left, you will see maps in GIS. Hope I'm not going too fast, but click on maps in GIS. Here we have a link where the maps in GIS go down. It's kind of hidden, but this is the link to actually get to the GIS website. So click on GIS Atlanta.gis, and it's been running kind of slow, but if it doesn't come up quickly, I have another screen saying, but once you go, you should come to this GIS Geographic Information Systems webpage. Here, if you scroll down, we have a lot of great apps that we have created. A lot of citizens have been asking for ways to maneuver around our GIS website. And I must say, in the last couple of years, we've really upgraded. We have a great website now with great apps to allow you to go in and pretty much do any kind of searching that you want to do. Paul, Graham, and Stuart and Prince are going to come in and actually get deeper into the apps. But once you get here, you can see we have all kind of apps that may be to assist you to look up property, go to the planning viewer, city limits, address lookup. This is what I love to send constituents to, simply because you get a lot of questions about, do I live in the city, my house on the city, or am I in the cab? So you click here, it actually give you, put in your address, and it actually tell you if you are not in the city. But as you can see, we have a lot of great new apps. We bought Grammar Board, he's came along and added some great apps to really assist us, because a lot of times we're getting requests from the mayor's office, from councilmen. We have all kind of, you see, short-term rental tracker, just a lot of great apps that you want to get in, explore, and just click around and just find different things we have going on with the planning department. But like I said before, my coworkers will go deeper into the apps, but this is just a way for you to get in, to get to our GIS information website. Once again, go to the City of Atlanta search. I could go back and show you once again, just to make sure everyone has it. Google search, City of Atlanta, government, city planning. Once you get to the city planning website, make sure you go down to maps and GIS. Once you get here, go down, say click the image below for visiting our GIS website. Click there. It's been, like I said, been spinning most of the day, but once it comes up, you just go click here. This is how it'll look. And here you can go in and explore and find new apps that we have. If you have any questions, we can discuss it later on in the training. But once again, my name is Carl Chaston, and I on to the next. Paul.
All right, excellent. All right, thank you. Very good, Carl. Yeah, so as you can see, we're constantly building and growing our applications itself, so to make it more efficient for you. So our next speaker we're going to have right now, we're going to delve directly into one of our major applications itself. We have our new employee, Mr. Prince Busso. So he's going to speak directly on one of our applications. Goes on right now. This is one of the ones we built. This, I think, it gets the most traction than anything. Is the building permit tracker. So this was developed so that now you have access. If you have a building permit within the city, you can go there and track the life cycle of that permit itself without having to call the city and find out, what's the status, who have it in their queue right now. You can go there and find out everything you need to know about any permit that we have within the city. And right now it's updated every 2 weeks. And so it's pretty much a running update of 24 months worth of permits within our database. So Mr. Prince, have at it, please.
Yes. Thank you very much, Paul. Yeah, so as Paul rightfully said, I'm going to run you through the building permit tracker, which, as he mentioned earlier on, it helps you to check the status, right, of your building permit application. So as Carl mentioned, you basically have to visit our URL, that's gis.atlanta.ga.gov, and then it will bring you to this homepage. So in order for you to use the building permit tracker app, you just scroll down to new apps right here, and then you just click on this app. So when you put your mouse pointer on it, you can see it gets highlighted. You just click on it, and then it is going to bring you to the homepage of the building permit tracker app. And it welcomes you with relevant information, right? So what this information is basically saying is you can check your building permit status by either using your permit ID or by using your parcel ID, or you could also use your address, right? So this app gives you 3 ways for you to to get the status of your building permit. So after reading this, you just click on OK. And then you can see right here on your left-hand side, it gives you this permit ID, which starts with BB. And you can see there is a base map right here. There's a map right here, which has this circles, these bubbles. And the red basically tells you that this is for commercial. The yellow is for residential. And the gold or brown is for multi-family. So you can zoom into it. So when you zoom, the bubbles begin to, to become smaller and everything. Once again, in case the base map is too bright for you, for your eyes, you can select on this icon right here. You click on it and it says base map, and then it gives you different base map colors. So for example, you could use the community map. You click on it and it's going to update the base map for you. Right. So there are lots of options that you could use. Personally, I prefer to use the dark mode because it is soft on my eyes. So you click on it right here, you can see that the map right here has updated to have a dark mode. And we will come right here. So you can see on this search box, there is the permit ID, parcel ID, or address. So what is basically saying is you can either search for your building permit record by either using the permit ID or by using the parcel ID or by using your address. So for here, I'm going to use my permit ID, which starts with BB. So I just put the number right here. And then one thing you need to notice is that when you're typing in, make sure you don't leave any white space before or after, right? Right now, you could see that my cursor, there is a space. So when I hit enter, it's going to say no record. It's because of the space. So all that I got to make sure is that there is no space. So I just clear it. And then I hit enter again. Let me space out. Yes. So I hit enter again, and you can see that it just it helps this point to appear. It basically shows the location of your property right here. So if you want to find more information, you can zoom into it. And then after zooming, if you want to read more about your permit, you can click on see a seller report. So when you click on this button right here, it's going to open a new tab. And then the tab is going to give you detailed information about your property. So you can see that the building permit ID that I put right here, this page gives me additional information about it. So it helps me to know that it is a residential property. And then it also tells you about the record status over here. You can see that it is written issued, right? And over here, it gives you this map that helps you to locate the property so well. And you can scroll down where you get to find additional information about your property and everything. So if I go back here again, you could also use the Google Street View for you to have a street view of your property. So when you click on it, it is going to open this Google Maps Street View for you, which is very interactive. So you can see right here, it opened this street view for me so that I can confirm that, oh yes, this is actually my property, right? And one beautiful thing about this app is that you could also download the data, all the attribute information, or all the extra information about your property. So to do that, you could see this 4 bubbles over here, which has actions. So when you put your mouse pointer on it, it says actions, you just click on it. And then there is a pop-up that comes that says that export all. So you click on export all, and it asks you, do you want to export the data as a JSON, as a CSV, or as a JSON? So I would recommend that you choose the CSV, which you could use an Excel or a spreadsheet application to open it. So you just click on it right here, and then it is going to download it for you. So you just open your download folder, and then you could use Excel to open the information that you just downloaded. So right here, you can see that the data that I downloaded here is on my computer, and you can go further on to to read more about it. So you can see it has the longitude and the latitude. It has the permit ID. It tells you the date that that your permit was open. It tells you the subtype. It basically gives you extra information about your property. So that's one important thing, or that's one relevance of the building permit app. Thank you.
Paul? Oh, you all are changing instructors? Is that what's happening?
Yes. Okay. So we're gonna stay within our app. So now right now we're gonna turn it over to Graham. He's gonna demonstrate, I guess, a couple of the web applications that we do have, and then we're gonna move on to, I guess, what everyone is here for is going through the planning viewer and the property info, which is probably the websites that you're most familiar with. We want to definitely share with the wealth of applications we've built, so that you know that they exist. And so these are very app specific things that can be very beneficial to you. So Graham, take it over.
Okay, thanks everybody. So just let me know if you have any trouble with audio or video here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of the applications here. And as Paul mentioned, we'll talk about property info and planning viewer, and kind of go over the basics of, how do you actually navigate a web application? What are the elements of a map? How do you turn layers on and off? So we'll get to some of that more basic stuff in just a few minutes here. But just to kind of scroll through, we've got the building permit tracker app. We're tracking short-term rentals, which are things like Airbnbs. Now you can see if they're historic. Anyone near you has applied for historic preservation status for their properties. But one of the things that might be useful to folks in the NPU meeting, well, and I guess I'll also just mention the lot boundary search app. If you ever need to know, just a quick reference, what are the dimensions of your property? This is an app that you can use to load up, and I'll give that a second to load. But we get these emails and calls from time to time for various reasons that someone just wants to see, what are the dimensions of a property? So here's kind of what that looks like. So that's just a sample of that application. We do have a map, an application that's just displaying zoning, and Stuart's going to talk about zoning in a little while, so I'll leave that to him. But one of the things folks in the NPU might be interested in is this mailing label generator application. So I've got that pulled up right here. And what you can do with this application is that, say I need to contact everyone in my NPU with a mailer. What I can do is I can do it in a couple of ways. But the simplest way to say contact a large group and to do it by NPU is here on our map. If you look way up here at the top right, there's this little magnifying glass, and it's called a query widget. And if you turn that on, what I can do is I can say, I'm going to choose an NPU boundary. And then I grab this little black box, and I can go to any of my NPUs. And it's not quite a click. You can see on the screen, it says press down and start and then let go. So you kind of like, you drag a box. And it's selected NPU J. And now over here, you see this little green button at the bottom that says apply. If you do that, it'll generate a list of every mailing address within the selection I just made. So in this case, NPU J. So it'll give you a list here. And you can see here at the top, it's 5,733 parcels. And this little 3 dots here at the top, similar to what Prince was just showing us, you can export this to a CSV file. And if you open it up, it'll give you, this is pulling from the county tax parcels. So it'll give you all the information that, in this case, Fulton County includes in their tax parcel layer. So a parcel ID, a site address, which is, the street address of the place. And then it also lists the postal address. So sometimes this postal address is different because the postal address is maybe the owner of the property lives somewhere else, or they want to receive, mail at a different location. So our staff uses this tool, planners use this tool to notify people of potential changes in a neighborhood. And the way they typically might do it, they might go to an address, type it in and say, okay, this person has applied for example, a rezoning, and part of the requirement, and I might not get this exactly correct, but part of that requirement might be that they need to, the neighbors within, I don't know, a quarter mile might need to be notified of this proposed change. So what we can do is, I can drop a point here where that address is and say, I want to grab all the parcels within 300 feet or whatever I can change this if I want to 1,000 and do it that way. And it will give me similarly the opportunity to download. So in this case, 559 addresses are found. I can download a CSV. So this is typically the workflow that our planning staff would use, but you can use it also. So it's simple to set up a way to grab a spreadsheet by MPU, but you can do it by smaller units as well. So that's a quick look at that application. I did want to show you one other thing, and then we'll have, I think, maybe some time for questions. So last fall, the city completed a pretty long and obviously very politically contentious process of redistricting the city. So based on the new census that came out in 2020, states do it, and the city does it as well, as you redraw political boundaries based on changes in the population. And so city council approved new districts in the fall of 2022 that will go into effect in 2025. And we created an application that basically compares what our districts are like right now to what they're going to be in 2025. I actually should change this date to 2025. But essentially you can say, okay, how's District 9 going to change? Over here on the left side of the screen, it says select an old district. So I've selected District 9. This information around, say, race and population is going to change. And then over here at the top, select a new district. I can compare it to 9. So our current district boundaries have this, racial distribution, this population distribution, and then in the new districts that will be, again, come into effect in 2025, the population is increased, and the racial composition of the district has changed a little bit too. So it's an interesting tool to play around with. There's many ways we could have sliced it with, almost an infinite number of kind of demographic statistics, but we just chose kind of a couple of basic ones. So it's interesting to play around with. Okay, so 12 has gained some population. I think some of the big ones that changed, maybe like 5 and 6 have changed. So 5 had to get a little bit smaller. So again, this might be interesting to you all as NPU decision makers and civically engaged folks, just as kind of an informative application that's related to some pretty significant changes in politics in the city. So for now, I don't know, Paul, maybe we could take a couple of questions just about those two things, and then move on to talking about property info and planning viewer. So if you have a question, I guess raise your hand. Jennifer Brooks, I can see you.
Yes, a quick question. What does CSV mean?
CSV is a type of spreadsheet file. It means comma separated values.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but it's standard format for spreadsheet data.
Okay.
So any computer could open a CSV file.
Okay, so getting back to the building permit tracker, there's just 24 months on record at the moment, is that right?
Well, we have records going back much farther than that, but for the sake of not having just 20, hundreds of thousands of records on one application, we just limit it to 2 years. You can actually use the Acela Citizen website to look up older records as well. But we just maintain 2 years just for the sake of having an application that runs relatively smoothly and
Okay.
not so slow.
So if I want to find what permits have been, or permit applications or permits have been issued for a particular address, I just follow the steps that
Prince.
that Prince described. Okay.
Yep. So you could just type in an address, or you can actually just zoom into a map. Also, if you know where you're looking, you could just zoom right in and say, I'm interested in this area. There's also a couple of, I believe we have neighborhoods here that you can turn on. There's a couple other things you can do with this also. Say if you wanted to draw a boundary around, let's say I want to get all of the permits in this neighborhood, West Paces Ferry. I can do that and then hit apply, and likewise I can export that as a CSV. So 44, I didn't do a very good job drawing, but for example, you can, if you're doing some kind of research, you can get a little deeper into the weeds on this application also. Let's see, Angeline Saber, do you have I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong.
Actually, Amy is up next.
Oh.
Yeah, we have it in,
Okay.
we have the list in order. Amy is up next.
Okay, well, you go ahead and go ahead, Amy.
Hey, thanks. She kind of covered mine. All of this, I assume, is open to everyone. If you
Yes.
wanted to do a search on somebody else's building permit, it's not just your building permit.
Yeah, you can search any building permit. It's all public record, so it doesn't have to be your own.
But it doesn't have the plans.
No, I guess if you go to it, what it's going to take you to is, and this is the resource that everyone has access to, not just through GIS, but it's the Acela Citizen
Right.
portal.
Right.
So it'll take you here, so you can search.
But we can't view the plans, and I know you said you want to stay on topic, but
no, not through this application. No, it doesn't give you access to the actual plans themselves.
okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All righty, let's see here. Danette Battle.
Yes, good afternoon. I was looking at the screen that you just had up, and I wanted to know how current is that screen, because I'm looking at a business that has long been gone. And so how current is this information?
This screen?
Yes.
Is this the one you're at?
Yes. Looking for permits, yes.
Yeah, so it's updated twice a month, and it has data going back 2 years. So if if a business was around within the last 2 years, it might still have a permit, or it would still have a record of a permit, and we might be displaying it here. So we don't scrub it if we don't really have a way of knowing if a business or something is still there. So the record's still there though. But yes, it's current.
Thank you, Ms. Battle. Angela?
I just actually wanted to know what was the purpose or intent behind the restructuring of the demographic map?
From my perspective or from the city council?
I guess from the city council's perspective.
You want me to grab that one? Or
No, I mean, I can answer it.
Graham, because I think you better say something from your perspective. Let me say the politically correct answer.
No. I thought you meant, is she asking me what choices was I making in the map? But no, the redistricting process is one that city council hammers out. Basically, what can they get? I think eight of them to agree on, or a majority of them to agree that this is what the district boundaries should be. So, however the sausage is made there is it's, you know, that's how they get drawn.
But the demographic piece, because there has to be parity when it comes to when you do the redistricting, the restructuring of the boundaries, because it is all population based, because they all have to fall within a 5% percentile of each other when you do any type of, whenever there's a new census and the boundaries are redrawn. So all of the populations have to be in a very close in totals, you know, so representation, you know, so all representation, each district has to be representing close to the same number of residents. And so that's a part of that whole process.
Because I saw where there was the proposed and I guess existing. So I was trying to figure out, is there a reason why those numbers are there?
We have to change that, because now all of those have been those have been approved. It was proposed early on because we have the existing, and so it has been approved by council, and those new boundaries go into effect in 2025. So but that's what we have to update those, that the terminology, the language on there, from proposed to approved. So
all right, thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Right, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Angela and Logan.
Okay, can this be the last one? We want to jump into the next section.
It is the last hand.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask really quick. I know you guys had pointed out some really helpful information. What is kind of the limits of your data? So the population data, is that being pulled from the census? Or what are some data holes or data needs that you might have that we should be aware of as we're looking at this? Like, which ones are kind of pretty much like 95% confidence, and which ones are like, well, we wish we had more? And then second point, just for everyone, they don't have all the permits. It's more kind of industrial based, but you can also look for permits on an application called GEOS, GEOS. A little more finicky, but just for everyone's information.
Yeah, I mean, so we draw from the population, at least in the app that I was showing, is just drawn from the 2020 US Census, which, you know, is supposed to be a authoritative data set. So, you know, we don't do any slicing and dicing of that in really in any way. So that's just simply straight up what's captured in the census, you know, which is never going to be 100% accurate, but that's really all that the census does, is think about how to count things. So, you know, we can say with pretty good confidence that the population data, really anything else we get from the census, is pretty good. I mean, in terms of data that the city planning, that our department has, sure. I mean, yeah, there's holes, there's things we would love to have, but at least as far as, you know, data that is in a cell, so things like building permits, code enforcement, you know, we are really the vector for putting that out to the public. So we have a good handle on that data, and, you know, so we feel pretty good about what we're able to display in terms of data that requires some kind of permit, license, you know, is regulated by zoning. You know, we really have, that's really one of the main things that we do on a daily basis, is maintain accuracy of our data. So you know, we feel very confident about it. And when there are any issues, you know, Stuart can talk about zoning, but there's a process for kind of working through discrepancies and that kind of thing.
All right. All right, I'll jump to the next one, next section. All right, so now we're going to jump right into the last two areas, which most of you are probably more familiar with, which is the property info and the planning viewer. Many of you probably not as familiar with the planning viewer, so but we'll jump into that. I think Graham will be able to speak more. Graham and Stuart will speak more of the details of that application. But the planning viewer, I'm sorry, the property info, I'm going to share my screen. And where is that? And share. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I could tell whether it's been shared or not. But well, back to our website. This is one of the ways you can navigate to the planning viewer itself. Sorry, so to the property info is through our website, and property info is the is this card that we have here. You can simply select this card, or you can go to, well, it's probably easy to do it that way. GIS.atlanta.gov, and you can always put in /prop info. That's one of the shortcuts you can put in, prop info, and it will take you to the website. Or it's best when you get this, and many people, you just bookmark this so that you don't have to go through trying to type in any of the URLs or anything of that nature. But once you select this tab, it will take you to our website. This is the City of Atlanta property info. Now, the premise of this website, we made two sites. This site is designed for quick information. What we have dozens of layers, dozens of spatial layers that we have that we maintain within the city. All these layers, from the zoning layers to the incentive zones to the parcels, all this data we have there. These layers all exist in both applications, but in this application, all the symbology is turned off. So as you zoom in or either type in an address, only thing you see will be the parcels. But also within those parcels, what's all around those parcels are other boundaries. Like I said, zoning boundaries. Each one of these fall within a certain zoning area. There's land use. There's cadastral land lot. There's all these different information that we have that's attached to this, but all that symbology is turned off, so you don't see it. And so what you do, once you type in an address, like for example, here you have this address. You can either type in, you can navigate and actually select an address, or you can navigate through the map. Oh, something happened here. Okay, wait a minute, let's go back. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. So if we go and navigate to the map and select any parcel, or if you type in a particular parcel. And one thing we're going to be doing also that everyone will be happy, we're speaking with our IT department to help with our performance, so to help upgrade our server, because this time it takes to update our information itself and load certain websites and everything. We're hoping to have that updated within hopefully before the end of this quarter. So now what you can see here, once I select this address or type it in or select this address, right on this panel that pops up on the right hand side, all of these are the layers that are not visible, but these are all the active layers that are with it, that this particular parcel falls within. You're going to see those layers once we go to the planning viewer. You'll be able to visually see them. But you have the parcel layer, and also one thing I want to let you know that each parcel that's within the city, since the city falls within both DeKalb County and Fulton County, there is a very unique way of identifying whether or not that parcel falls within one of the counties. Now, hint, if the parcel begins with this district here, this number here, this first two numbers in the parcel ID is the district. If it's in DeKalb County, the district it will begin with 15 or 18. 15 or 18, if that district starts with that, it is a DeKalb County parcel. If it starts with 14, 14F, or 17, it will be a Fulton County parcel. And that is important because right underneath here, you see we have a link to the Fulton and DeKalb County tax assessor. So we give basic information, the basic owner and address information for the parcel. But if you want to go into details and see the valuation, things of nature, you can go directly to the assessor's website. And so it's important to know whether this is a Fulton County or DeKalb County parcel to determine which tax assessor's database you're going to. So remember, DeKalb County is 15 and 18. And Fulton County is 14, 14F, and 17. Those are the districts for Fulton and DeKalb County. So in addition to this, you see all these other layers, the land lot district, the cadastral map. So if you want to see the original boundary layer map for this area, you can click on the cadastral maps. Many of you are probably aware of this already. It will pull up that old scanned Mylar PDF of that particular location. We have some drawing issues here. I'm sure why it's taking long for the draw. Yeah, sorry about this. We're dealing with some. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is the old Mylar or cadastral, the original drawn cadastral of this area itself. So we still maintain this, even though we've already completed a process of digitizing this. So we have a digital version and we have the original Mylars itself. But once you go through, like I said before, all of these are links that you can go and pull up additional information for that parcel. And these are all spatial information, all spatial, it's all, this parcel falls within any of these districts, any of these layers, but you just visually can't see them. So like this is, so planning property info is designed for quick information itself. Just to type in the address and immediately you would get a list of everything possible that we have available, all the layers that's within that particular parcel that is associated with, from zoning, land use, from the land use density, whether or not it's in an incentive zone, whether it's close to a personal care home, any of that will show up on this particular layer itself, this display. Without having to visually see it, but it's designed strictly for quick information. This is not the most robust and informative, because if you really want to get to more detail, this has very few to no widgets or abilities behind it, other than you can email this map to someone. But in our next version, it's a step up where it allows you to be a little more creative. You can actually print maps. You can actually, there's widgets where you can actually do more analysis to the data itself. But for this, it's designed for strictly quick information that you can get what council district, zoning, NPU, neighborhood. It's the basic information and keep it moving. So that's what this is designed for. So we're going to move right into the one that is the more robust. So we're going to have Graham to come back and talk about that. And Stuart will follow up with that with a little more information on how to utilize the zoning aspect of the property, of the planning viewer itself. So I'll turn that over to you. So first of all, is there any questions about the property info before I shut off? Has everyone used this before?
I do not see any hands.
Okay. Well, I have one question before we leave. If my property has a parcel ID that starts with 14F, what county is my property in?
Fulton County.
Before,
Fulton County.
Please make sure you raise your hand before you speak out. Thank you.
But that is correct, Fulton County. And can someone tell me?
Wait, Paul, you
Okay.
have people's hands raised for questions.
Oh, okay. I thought it was raising for the answer, but he already gave me
No,
that.
that's what I was trying. I wanted to make sure you knew they weren't trying to answer your question. They had questions before that.
Okay, cool. Okay.
All right, Miss Tanya.
Hi.
Hello.
My question was on the map where you, so when you were pushing the, what is it, the cadastral map?
Yes.
The first map will always be the most updated one, right? And you would then just have to go back to that one. You wouldn't automatically see the older map.
Okay, let me make sure I'm. Oh, what happened to my-
No. No, that's a link that you have to click on to pull open that cadastral map. So it's just it's a point of reference.
Perfect. No, that's what I thought. That answers my
Okay.
question. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. My screen went blank. Okay, sorry about that.
All right, Ms. Reynolds.
Yes, my question, when I go into the property information map and put in address, because sometimes it just say you put in not the whole address, but if I put in the whole address, it comes up, tells me there's no result. So what am I doing wrong? That's why I'm really interested in this class. So
No, in many cases, because there's the addresses, there's several different databases that we use. What's this, Ms. Graham, you doing this?
Yeah, do you want to tell me what the address is? I might be able to figure it out for you.
Yeah, because what's happening, because we have an address point database, and we also have Esri, which it's like our software has this large address database also. And so normally if you give too much information, sometimes if you type too much information, it limits the search. So sometimes it's best to put in just the street number and the street name. That way it allows all of our databases to search for that address, because the more specific you get, sometime it will limit the search itself, and it may not be typed in the exact same way that you have it. So it's like if you're looking for 55 Trinity, I put it 55 Trinity rather than 55 Trinity Avenue Southwest. The more information you give, it may restrict the database at times where it'd be more difficult to find it. Because in all of our data, as you type, it really pulls up, it limits, I actually start to filter out any of the available addresses that fall within that address range. For example, could you give me an example of one that you had mentioned?
well, I'm just gonna give you one on top of my head. 1212 Jackson Parkway.
Well, yes. See, as you type in, oh, I see what's going on. Graham, I'm gonna fix. We have the world geocoder first rather than our geocoder. Yes. Okay, that's what's happening. We have it backwards.
We can
our geocoder should be on top. Yes.
See,
okay,
these three black little bars are indicating different ways the map looks for an address. This one, City of Atlanta address locator, we need to put that at the top, because this one is searching the entire world.
Yes. Okay.
So it's relevant sometimes, but we need to just make this at the top. But yeah, you're right. It does say no results found.
And take out the Northwest. Yes.
12. So let's try
Jackson. This Jackson Parkway. Yeah.
But
just hit enter. Yeah. Just hit enter. Jackson Parkway and hit enter.
Is it Northwest?
No. It is.
Yeah. Just hit enter. Yes. And it will find it that way.
But this says is it outside the city somehow? But you're right. I see what your issue is.
Okay.
Oh, it went to Louisville.
Louisville. Okay. Wow.
Huh.
All right. I've never seen that before. Okay.
It's inside of the city.
12.
It's not James Jackson Parkway, is it?
Yes, it's James Jackson Parkway.
Oh, that's different. Okay.
Yeah.
James, that's different. Okay. Jackson Parkway and James Jackson, those are two totally different streets.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
So this appears to have found it.
Okay. Yes.
One other thing I'll mention, while this is a good example, if you look over here on the right, the information that's pulled up, this property information, the parcel ID, the owner, this is all coming from the county. And it looks like Fulton County has a different address for this parcel ID. Now there might be a reason for that. Maybe it's a new address and they haven't updated, or it could be, that there's one address for a larger development and then different sub addresses. But it's always a good idea. The city is the authority on addresses. So see this second line that says full address. That's what the city has as the official address for this particular parcel. So sometimes there's a discrepancy between the county's address and our address. And this is a good example of that. The city is the authority on addressing, and the counties are the authorities on anything related to tax parcels.
If you have a problem, you can always kind of add the adjacent property sometimes, and you'll get the proximity. Then you can look on the map. Oh, there's my property. It's usually the property information is going to have a little bit more of a robust address search than property information will.
All right, Angeline, did you change your mind about your question, or maybe it was answered? I don't see your hand. I don't see your hand.
I was gonna ask about the incentive zoning, but then I decided to look it up on the World Wide Web to see what that meant. So I think I got my answer. Thank you.
All righty. We have two questions that were sent to me, Paul. How do we find official neighborhood boundaries? And how do you handle a multifamily condo search?
Okay, very good question. Okay,
I'll answer the first one in a minute when I demo the next app. But Paul, maybe you want to take that second question.
Okay, for multifamily condos. Okay, so now one of the interesting things we have with the city is that for years we did not capture multifamily units and apartment numbers. So our database is in a way we're missing some of that information itself. So we're in the process. We're actually purchasing data from the Postal Service, from the organization that provides from the Postal Service. So we're about to do a mass update and backfill of a lot of our addressing data itself. But what I've done is, because we get this request all the time when someone's trying to get a permit, and we're missing the unit numbers, like for townhomes and things of nature, I always go to the county assessors database, because the county assessors database, they provides the parcels for each of those units, those townhomes, those units. So the parcel ID is assigned to them, so they would have the address. And so I always go back to the county itself, and they will have those unit numbers associated with it. So, and then if that is if we prove that's something that's valid, I would add that to our GIS when I have a chance to, GIS in our seller database. But in most cases, for multifamily townhomes, condominiums, we may not have that information because we didn't collect that information, because we have normally addressed the primary address for those units, those multifamily units, those structures, and the developer has the right to, to address them. As long as the nomenclature makes sense, they address all the unit numbers itself, based on the developer's requirements and everything. And so we didn't take control of that. So what we've done now is tell them to give us a copy of it so we can update our GIS with it. But we still leave it up to them to do all the unit numbers and things of nature. We don't handle that within our office.
Any other questions or?
Okay. So I guess you could jump right into the property with the planning viewer, and between you and Stuart.
Okay, so the person who asked the question about how do you find neighborhood boundaries, there's two ways. If you are interested in actually downloading the GIS files of the neighborhood boundaries or any other data sets, one thing we didn't talk about is here on the main page of our website, gis.atlantaga.gov. If you go to this page at the top, Open Data Hub.
Graham, you're not sharing right now.
I'm not sharing?
No.
It says I'm sharing my screen.
Graham has started sharing screen, but no, we're not.
Stop it and start again. Can you see it now? You're muted, Paul.
No. Yep. You make sure you hit the share
I am.
blue button afterwards. Yeah, you have to hit share twice.
My screen says that I am sharing. So is somebody else sharing or no?
No, it just comes on with a black screen for you, Graham.
Was it
Is
doing
it-
that before?
No, it
No.
worked before.
No.
Oh, okay. Let's see if this works. Anything?
See myself.
Okay, so it is sharing. Okay. So back on our I'll go back to our homepage. So here on our website up at the top, if you go to Open Data Hub, this is where you can search for data and download it. If you're interested in using GIS on your own, you can download it as a KML, which you can actually just drag it into Google Earth if you have that. A shapefile is a geographic file type, so is GeoJSON, and then CSV would be like a spreadsheet. So this is where if you're, a more advanced GIS user, you can come and browse these different categories, but you can search things like, the city boundaries or tax parcels, or we've got a couple hundred things here in the open data portal. But if you're just interested in, viewing some of these layers, again, off of the homepage right here, this planning viewer application is what I'm going to talk about now. And then Stuart's going to expand on the zoning information that's here. But this is what it's going to look like. And the first key thing to navigating this is basically the same thing as property info, except that you, the map user, can manipulate what's on the screen. You can turn the data on and off. So up here at the top, what looks like the 3 slices of American cheese is our layer list. So we have these grouped, and you can see these little arrows. So right now, within administrative areas, our city limits boundary is turned on, the black dotted line, but I could also turn on the neighborhoods. And these will represent the official, current and up-to-date neighborhoods within the city. As you can see here, you can turn on NPUs, and this is just, checking the box is making that layer visible on the map. So NPUs, land lot index is actually a good one. It breaks up the city into these grids, and if you ever need to just find the cadastral for that grid, you turn on the land lot index, and then you click on your map. So this tool on the left here is what's going to provide information about what's on the map. And so when you click, any of the layers that are turned on will return information over here on the left side of the screen. But if I turn this land lot index off, for example, and I click again, you'll notice that link to the cadastral map is gone. And the reason is I have turned that layer off. So if I turn on neighborhoods and click, it's going to tell me, hey, you clicked on this parcel and it's in this neighborhood. So this is really the most important and basic aspect of this application, and really most maps you might interact with, is the ability to turn on and off layers. So if I go into this land use planning group, we have zoning here represented by this really busy red line. And likewise, now that this is turned on, I can click on that parcel and it'll tell me the zoning is RG3. And again, in a few minutes, Stuart will talk about how do you understand zoning information. So I'll leave that to him. But just being able to navigate through here, you can turn on the belt line. You can turn on, if you need to see properties that have been rezoned. Again, once they're turned on, you can click them. And up here, you also have the ability to type in an address or a parcel ID. So, just to copy that parcel ID, it will populate here. it'll zoom to it, and then clicking on it is what creates this pop-up. So there was a correction to a rezoning here. So really the basic info here is, you might want to take a look at something specific. If you needed to find records of certain properties having their boundaries redrawn, you can turn on our plat footprint record, and that will actually provide a link. So, and that might be a complicated one, PDSD, I don't know what that one is. So here was a replat from 2014. So the second number is the year. And then I can open that up. And so this is our way of kind of taking some of that Acela data that's already been approved and completed, in this case, a replat of this particular property, and you can find a link to it by turning on this document archive. Now, this isn't going to be displaying things that are like in progress, as someone asked me earlier. It's not going to show like a site plan for something that's proposed. It's only going to show subdivisions, consolidations, replats, and a couple of other things. So again, this is mostly something that our planning staff uses, but folks in the development community might be familiar with those documents also. You can also turn on addresses, and sometimes this could take a little bit to populate just because there are a lot of addresses to populate. And again, anything that you see here on our screen related to addresses is authoritative. This is pulling from our authoritative address layer. And then we've got a couple of other things like the city's focus on the city design. So designating areas as growth corridors or conservation areas. You can see how the city is sort of divided up along those lines. Incentive zones might be of interest to some folks. These have to do with, and I just saw my wife and children pull into the driveway. So my 4- and 2-year-old will be running into the room momentarily. Apologies. But if you wanted to take a look at things like tax. Hey, baby. Okay. Do you want to sit here for a second? Daddy's talking. Here, come here. Okay. Don't touch the screen. Okay. So Paul, I might turn it over to you for a second here.
Okay, I'll take it over from here. So that's the fun part about evening trainings. Okay. Okay, let me.
Vaguely remember this happening last year with
Yes,
Graham
it
too.
did.
Didn't
Yes,
it?
it did. The exact same training.
Yeah, it must have
Yes.
been the 4-year-old, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
I can take over, Paul, if you.
Okay, yeah, let's just do it. You can take over because you're going to carry on from the zoning piece. Okay. Yes.
Go ahead and share my screen. Okay, can you guys see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Let me try to move some stuff around so I can. So as Graham was saying, we got these little layer lists from our little layer map. So when we do GIS, these are called layers.
So Stuart, can I mention one thing? Can you show them how to print the print tool real quick?
The print tool.
The top right.
There's the print tool right here.
Yeah, so if you want to print a map, any layers you have turned on and you click that print button, it'll give you the option to create a PDF map of what your current extent is on the screen right at that second. So I've noticed it's kind of taking a little bit of time lately, but just simply clicking that button is how you can print a map. Sorry, Stuart.
You're fine.
Stuart, we have a hand raised. Do you want to take the question now, or do you want to wait until?
I might can answer it after.
Okay.
So because We'll
That's
go through-
fine. That's fine.
Again, you can kind of look and change your base map if you want to. You can bookmark a certain area if you like. How you found a little area that you look just like you would in anything. You could just save that spot. But the layer list is one of the things that you're probably going to use the most. And again, the planning viewer is a lot more robust than just property info. You can click on the different layers and you can have them on or off. And if you have too many layers on, it'll get too busy and it'll kind of be a little confusing. And you can also, sort of set up default layers of when you come in, what you're most interested in. I mainly deal with land use planning, so I'm going to go ahead and go through our land use planning layer and all the sub layers that's involved with that. Our zoning districts are our current zoning that is in that area right here. We got this area of 536 North Avenue. And it's MRC3. If you look down and I click on it, I already clicked on it, you can look at all the information. You got the zoning district. With the zoning district, you have this link right here that can link you to what the MRC3 Muni code is, and that can give you a description of all of the technical things and regulations of this particular zoning. It'll tell you what the maximum lot, all the little planner jargon that you probably might get a little confused on, but it can tell you setbacks, anything of that sort, floor area ratio, and all these things that if you learn more about zoning and coding and Muni code, you can get a little bit of a better grasp of what you're dealing with and how to do it. Let me go ahead and click this one off. Go back. So that's the zoning description. If there's an overlay in this area, there is. So there's been a lot of growth on the east side of the belt line. So you have the zoning overlay, and you can look up what those regulations might be in Muni code. You can look at the zoning map of the zoning map index. If you have that information on, the zoning map is our official zoning. That whenever we do a zoning update, these maps are automatically, I go in and update all these maps. And if you want official zoning map, what they'll do is they'll do the due diligence to make sure that this information, the zoning information, is all correct. And then and you would want to go to the planning department. But you can always look, and there's also like sort of a due diligence process, not only you can do, but that we do, but you can also do these as well to make sure all this information is correct. There is the future land use, which is based off of our comprehensive development plan. Our comprehensive development plan is sort of the guidelines for development. This is an area next to belt line, so it's a sort of what we consider a transit corridor. So being it's a transit corridor, that's where we want to have a lot of our high density. So this is a mixed use high density area. So any rezonings, if you want to try to rezone it and you want to rezone it for a little bit of a higher density, this would be allowed based on the future land use. From there, we got the zoning cases. And right here on this particular piece of property, we've got two zoning cases. I'm having technical. we have the one that was in 86, that was a correction. And then there's the recent one, rezoning case, the Z20, which is 2020, and the numeric number is, we usually do it, you know, the first part of the year would have like a 001, 002. This was in 029, and it goes and tells you what it's zoned from. Let me try move this again. So you can look, and it says it was zoned from C1C to MRC3C. It was completed, so the zoning passed, and here is the zoning ordinance. And if it's a real recent zoning, it might not have a PDF of the zoning ordinance yet, but you can always request that from the planning department if you know the ordinance number. But in this particular example, we have the ordinance number, and it, considering that this is a MRC3C, as if you've been involved with the MPUs, you know, all the C's, like the C1CC and the MRC3C are conditions. So any condition, you need to refer to legislation to see what kind of conditions are involved. So you see this, you see the ordinance number. Let me zoom in a little bit quick. The ordinance is of 20, which is the year it was passed. O for ordinance, and then it's a sequential number that's given to it. So when we get a ordinance passes, I get this information, and then I divide it or map it accordingly to what the legislation change happened. This is updated usually about 14 days after the ordinance is passed. Or once I get that information, I go ahead and usually change it within 3 days. But you can always look at the zoning cases to see what the status of a particular rezoning might or might not be. And if it failed, it'll say either filed or it was denied. This one was passed, approved. It gives the approval date when it was adopted. Again, this was approved. It gives the whole scenario of going through the whole ZRB, the MPUs, all the particular bureaucracies that go through to pass the ordinance, and then final council and how they voted. And so, and in the conditions here, if you look down, here's the condition for this particular ordinance. It says the site shall be limited to the following development controls. It says it gives the maximum residential floor area ratio and non-residential floor area ratio as well. And then it kind of gives you what the site plan, how it looks, and then it gives you any type, if there's any inclusionary zoning housing within the Beltline. It gives you a breakdown of what percentage, and then it goes into just kind of the whole legal part of the legislation. Other things you can see within the land use planning, you can click on the planning TCU corridor. You got building moratoriums, the historic districts with the historic guidelines, and you can click down and see how it's symbolized. The landmark building sites, again, what the future land use guidelines from. So if you want to rezone your property and you're kind of curious, well, what's the likelihood of this passing? You can always go and reference what the future land use is. Sometimes there's a CDP change that might occur if it doesn't align, but it can't be, it's got to be a sort of a transition in area from density, high density to low density. So if you look further out, they're the single family residential areas. So this is single family, this is multifamily, and it transitions to a commercial mixed use along the major thoroughfares. We also got special use permits that you can turn on and off. Character areas, which kind of is almost like the land use, but it's also covered in the comprehensive development plan. We have other layers that we use for internal staff, like the gas station buffer, personal care homes, and SBI, but these are mainly all our planning layers that we maintain. Okay, any questions now, Leah?
Miss Lath, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Did you still have your question that you wanted to ask?
It had to do with the maps that we saw earlier, and we were told that you could actually tell the history of that particular land. We were just wondering, we live in a community that originally was outside the city of Atlanta, and we voted to come into Atlanta in the mid-60s. Is there somewhere that will tell us what year that was and what part of our property was outside the city of Atlanta? Because we have a debate going on as to where the city line was at the time. Is it anywhere we could find that?
What's the address?
Now
Now there's the annexation layer. Is the annexation layer on this one?
We are actually going to work on a annexation application in the near future. Is it in reference data as annexation? No, that's not. That's all.
I don't think we have annexation on there, but we do have an annexation layer which documents every property that's been annexed into the city, and you can actually by date you can actually see which property went in and out, annexation, de-annexations. But what
you can always contact the planning office if you got a particular question, and you can also email me at sthenderson@atlantagA.gov. I'll put that in the comments in a minute.
But still, I think sorry.
So that's one of the applications that we're looking at adding in the near future.
But I think one of the things she was looking at, if you can give the address, because I think she was looking at the cadastral and seeing if the cadastral itself.
Address 4654 Bakers Ferry Road.
Bakers Ferry, okay.
Southwest.
Okay, right there. All right, now, you'll turn the lot boundary.
Which one? The document archive?
No, and lot boundary. And it's inside the expand that. Yeah, the land lot index. Yeah, click on that. Yeah, and that will pull up the cadastral. Yeah, the cadastral devon. And let's see if whether it was in. Oh man, I didn't check. Look at see where is it? Bakers Ferry. What's the address again?
4654.
So the Bakers Ferry Road goes through here, and it shows the old city limits, I think, right there.
Yes.
On the road.
No, that's the new, that became part of the city in the 60s.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was in the 60s. Okay, in that case, it was already a part of what, but this is already reflected to being a part of that. That's more in some situations, if it's data that we don't have,
right?
You may have to go to the Atlanta what is it?
Atlanta History Center.
Atlanta History Center, yes. Atlanta History Center would have a lot of that documentation, also stuff that's beyond what we have. They kind of archive a lot of the stuff, city history itself, but the Atlanta.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we've got Evan. Evan, we're ready for your question.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Are all of these layers available in the open data section of the website?
Most of the data that Paul, you want to take this?
Yeah, most of our data is currently in there. There's a few, there may be a few that things that we maintain on a consistent basis. We make sure we keep that on our open data portal. There may be a few that's out there that's not like we wouldn't put we'll see some things we may not have out there. Maybe the zip codes, county boundaries, everything. But things that we maintain for the most part, we try to keep that out on our open data portal. If there's something that you need, you can always send us an email, and we can either if it's something that we see that we can add to our open data portal, or we can provide you a link to that data itself. Because sometimes a lot of our data, we may have it where we have the REST endpoint where you can still have access to the data without having to download it. But if it's something that's not out there that you think you need access to, if it's something that we maintain or something that we feel comfortable that we have the ability to share, we'll do that. But some things, like when it comes to, we get a lot of requests for, like, we want to see, the school zones or things. We don't maintain that layer, so we're not authorized to publish that layer and to give it out because we don't maintain it. We don't know if that's the most current school district zone or the school layer. So we may have them as references here, but since we don't maintain it, we don't share it. You have to always tell you to go to the source. The same thing with transportation. We deal with MARTA train stations, the rail, the routes. Since we don't maintain that, we don't publish that on our site either.
It's a good practice when it's concerning the city. We're very concerned. Our main function of the planning department is development. So if you have any development questions, do not go to the counties to look at zoning. Do not go to the counties to look at land use. You can go through there and see the parcel layer and click on it, and it'll list the zoning and all that. But that data could be old. They don't update that information. Now, it's just the same way as like with us. If you have a tax question or anything like that, go to the county. Don't come here looking at our information because we're the source of development. So we're going to have the most current information when it comes to development. Also, tax parcels, they only update the tax parcels once a year because you're only taxed on the following year. So anything that might change hands is going to be a year or so lag with that information. So the county is going to have the most up-to-date information when it comes to the parcel layers. So again, if you have any questions or anything about development, just go to the source. So development source is the city, taxing source is the county.
Tax and ownership, yes.
Gotcha. Thanks, guys.
More questions?
Yeah, Ms. Kazi is next.
Hi, thank you. You kind of answered almost most of them. Graham, I want to verify, you said you were going to put your email in the chat, was one. The second one was that you had referred us to the Atlanta History Center in order to get like additional information on annexations. Like how far back does that go? Like if I'm right now working on different annexations in my district, trying to get a history on them and some statistics, if I need to go back to 1980s, I have to do that through the History Center because I can't access it through this map. Is that what you're saying?
No. Okay, we do it. Let's see. Let me see if I can pull it up. We have an annexation layer itself, because anything that was annexed, we do have an annexation layer that we have on our site that we should have information, but the Atlanta History Center also, they maintain data that we just don't have that annexation information on our website to download currently. But we do have access to that on our site. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Content. I can share that. Let's see. Annexation.
Yeah, most of the old, something you need to go to the History Center would be something like an old legislation that we have in archives or something like that. Anything to actually do with annexation except for legislation, if you want to know what the original boundaries are, we can display that information. And again, in the next 5 or 6 months, we're going to look at getting an app to have the actual annexation layer when it came into the city, the area and all that such in the near future. We actually have been short-staffed and Prince came in, so that's something that we're going to be working on in the near future. But if you need that information immediately, I just put my email in the chat, and I'm sure Graham put his as well.
Thank you.
Well,
Thanks.
sharing anything.
Oops, we've got one more question from Ms. Bell. Ms. Bell?
Yes, I wanted to know about surveys. I have a lot of clients that are looking for surveys of their property, and I know it's not part of any closings anymore as such, but are you storing the surveys?
We
No.
The
short answer is no.
That's when they do a survey of a particular tax parcel. Anything to do with parcels, you want to go to the county, they have a register of deeds office.
Well, I'm asking about, building permits. Is there any way that other than getting an open records request, is there any way that that information is on your site to see?
No, all that's.
Paul, let me jump in.
That's
Paul.
a seller. That's a seller. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yes.
go ahead.
Yeah, all that dealing with building permits and building records and survey, all that is through the Department of Buildings, and that is maintained through the seller database. So we wouldn't have that as far as on the GIS site. So we may have like the building permit application, it may reference that, but it's all that will be maintained for the Department of Buildings in the on their seller database itself, which is a separate application. Similar to the same thing you have with if you were trying to get a variance, with the city. So all that will be housed in a seller, but through the zoning development department. And so, so same thing, but you can't get access to that. So most of our documents now are being uploaded to a seller. Now, some of the legacy documents may not be loaded into the application, but I know they're doing it now. It's maintaining.
And rezoning cases go back to about when we did back to 2000.
Yes.
When we started having the GIS and all that stuff, so they don't go on in perpetuity per se. You can look at the old zoning mylars, look at old zonings, or if you you have a question of development and what was zoned, you can look at the rezoning cases. But if it goes back further than 2000, you would have to refer to the old zoning mylar maps.
Thank you.
Leah, were you wanting to add on something?
No, I was jumping in for Ms. Bell's questions.
Okay. Ms. Jelks?
Okay, but before she speaks, Nataki. Oh my goodness. Now this is someone I've gone back years and years. This is when I was in environmental stuff. I wasn't even in GIS. I didn't even know what GIS was. We worked together years ago with the city. It's great seeing your face, seeing you on this training. Wow, this is amazing. Go ahead, Nataki. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Paul. Just had a quick question for any of the tools that you all demoed tonight. can you get the watershed boundaries, or do we just need to go to the basic shape files for that?
Yeah, watershed, that is maintained by a separate department, so we wouldn't have any of the watershed information on our site. Let's see how we can do that, because yes, a lot of that, like all of the watershed boundaries, we wouldn't have any of that on our planning website. All that is through Department of Watershed. They maintain their boundaries separate. Other than that, you can go through the enterprise GIS. You can hit egis.atlantagA.gov. That's the enterprise site. They may have that layer shared on their site. And it's egis.atlantagA.gov. So they may have it on their site. Sorry.
Any other questions? Paul, you want to wrap it up, I guess? Or Leah?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up if y'all are finished with your part of the content.
Yeah, all the content is complete right now. I just want to make sure there's no other questions. And like for our team members, they're putting their email addresses in the chat. So if there's anything that comes up, you can always reach out to us. And also there was one thing we didn't get to hit on, but when Carl was starting off, he was showing how to navigate through our website. We do have a survey, because if there's anything that you ever come across, like a GIS wish list, I wish GIS could do such and such and such, put it in that survey. We kind of go through that and see what can we do to make improvements to our existing application itself. We're always looking for ways to improve. And there is a survey on the city planning's website. When Carl was mentioning, go to GIS. The city planning website and planning, city planning, and under maps and GIS and maps, there is a little bar there, actually a tab there that shows GIS survey. You can click on that and just fill it out. Any wishes you can ever wish for GIS, you can put it out there. And if it's something we can build, we try to take those as our guiding points as to what's the next thing we should update on our system itself.
Paul, we also have our contact information in the GIS itself. If you want to show
them. On the website?
Yeah, for future reference.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And we do actually have a couple of hands up.
Okay. Sure.
Ms. Brooks, your hand up. What's up first?
I just wanted to let you know that I can't see the chat. It seems to be disabled. So if you put your name, your contact information in there, I don't know if anybody's got it.
Yeah, same here. We can't see any contact information.
Okay, please don't start unmuting. It's not disabled. Did y'all put your info in the chat? Anybody from the team? Yes. They didn't put it in yet. Just give us a moment. We'll get it. They'll put it in there.
And then we also follow up with the slides and information that has their contact information as well.
I'll go ahead and share that real quick.
Thanks, Stuart.
Let me see.
If I knew them by heart, I would type them in, but the only one I know by heart is Paul's.
And one thing, we have a general mailbox also is GIS-team@atlantagA.gov. That is our general mailbox that you can send to any of us. So we all have access to that. GIS-team@atlantagA.gov.
Okay, and go back from the original site.
It's a pencil in your mind.
Okay, here's the GIS, atlantagA.gov. If you go to about, and it says our team, and here's our meet the GIS team. It has all our contact information, phone, address, and a kind of a bio on what we do. So you can always, it's best to probably do email, because sometimes we're at home or in the office. But you know, if you need us to call you, you can just say, please call, or something else. But yeah, all our email contact information. And we need to update. So we had Sharita here. She's no longer with us. And I'm no longer working for the city of Atlanta. And then Prince's information. But we'll be welcome to hang out, help you for that information. That's our main contact. Everybody got it? Stop sharing it.
And then we have a couple more questions in queue. Ms. Beer.
Just wanted to know, since it's separated by, I know that some of the maps are MPU maps, and then you have the district maps. Do you also have them mapped out by the quadrant, like what is south, the north quadrant, and I think it's the west quadrant? I don't think we have an east quadrant, or it's the west, north, and south quadrant.
Yeah, well, we have a quadrant layer. What you mean, do we have maps? I'm understanding the question. We do have our layer, the quadrant layer, but I'm not sure we have maps specific to just quadrant maps itself.
Yeah, like if I'm looking at the map, can I tell, even though some of them may overlay in the different MPUs in the districts, but do they also map out the quadrant? Like, I think.
Yes.
Does it map out the quadrant too?
Yes. Well, one thing that's very specific about the city is that all of our addresses must have a quadrant designation. So every address will have a northwest, southwest, whatever, have a quadrant designation. One of the 4 quadrant designations has to be in every single address that we provide. So, but on our website, the planning viewer, you will be able to turn on the quadrant layer itself, so you can actually physically see the quadrant boundaries itself. So that is something that's maintained. You can turn that on and off and physically see that. You wouldn't see that in the property info because once again,
I was thinking about that because of impact fees. So
that's,
I know those are
totally different. Okay.
Separated. And I was trying to figure out how that would look on the map.
Okay. But yes, but yeah, I do the impact fees. That's strictly from the building permit side itself. But
there's a reason why I'm asking you that question, Paul.
Okay. Well, yes.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay, yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have another, yes, okay. We'll talk about that. I have something I built for you specifically for the impact fees. Okay.
Yeah, the quadrants is in administrative areas.
Yes.
Mr. Kumar had a question, but your hand went down. Mr. Kumar, are you still there with your question?
No, thank you. My question was answered, so I am good. Thanks for this presentation, though.
Great, thank you.
All right, I will have my Cash App in the chat. So thank you. Reverse Cash App. Okay.
I'm gonna put a tip jar in my office. Just let it sit on the desk.
Well, but if this, I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy schedule. I know this is a late evening to still be doing work. I mean, I'm still in the office right now, but I want to thank everyone for taking time. I want to thank my team especially for taking time in their other busy schedule, being home. Graham, I know we have to take care of the kids, and everyone was able to, wherever they are, they were to make sure they're committed to making sure we provide the best training and the best applications that we can provide for the city itself. And so I want to thank my team. I want to thank the NPU team once again. You always do stellar work, put together these trainings, and I guess we look forward to next year. And so what we can do also, I mean, I'm not sure if there's any city staff online also, but city staff, we're going to be also doing small trainings that are very specific to each department. We've done one in buildings. We're going to be doing another one in zoning department. And I think we have a couple more in the building department with intake, and just do something more specific to help with the research and how they can function utilizing GIS as they do their daily tasks. So this will continue. So we set up those trainings also for internal use. Thank you again.
All right, Tanya has the last question. Go ahead, Tanya, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay, thank you, Leah. I just wanted to say that thank all of you who presented, Mr. Thomas and your team. It was super informative and very well laid out and easy to follow. So I really enjoyed this, and I got a lot of information from this. It's very useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I love to hear that. Thank you, Tanya. And thank you so much, Paul, and all my coworkers up in GIS, Carl, Stewart, Prince, welcome. I haven't met you yet, but welcome and thank you. And Graham, we appreciate you all so much. Thank you for taking your time to share your work and your expertise. That's the word I was looking for. Your expertise with city residents and city staff. So coming up, we've got Parliamentary Procedures 2, that's managing discussions around hot topics. That's August 31st at 6:00 p.m. The Housing Security Series has a course, Housing Resources for Tenants. That's on September 7th at 6:00 p.m. And then we've got our Atlanta City Design course. This is in person, and it is a bit of a, they told me not to say fireside anymore. It's something similar to a fireside chat, but I'm not supposed to say fireside chat because it's hot outside.
Panel discussion.
What is it?
Panel discussion.
Yes, a two-person discussion with the Commissioner of Planning, the Planning Commissioner and the Transportation Commissioner will be joined by the Director of Zoning, Kieta Holmes, and the two of them will have a good chat with Kieta moderating. That is in person. Of course, it's limited in space. So if you're interested in registering, you may want to do that soon. That is September 20. Actually, I don't think the registration opens until August 27th for that class. They open 1 month prior. So that is September 27th. And then in October, on the 4th, we have MPU 101. This is the class that people ask me for all year long. And trust me, it doesn't matter how long you've been a part of the MPU, that class has something that you need to learn. I promise you. That's on how the system works. All right, please be sure to follow us on, isn't there another slide? No? Okay, follow us on social media. It's at mpuatlanta.org. And last but not least, you'll get a, too late now, Kip. You got to be on it. Y'all don't follow me. Y'all got to follow. Last but not least, you will receive a survey, I think. Is that right? Is somebody sending out the survey?
Yes, I also posted the link in the chat.
Wonderful. The link to the survey is in the chat, and then we'll send you an email as well, asking you to complete the link. As I always say / beg, when we need to show our performance, when we need to show those who set the budget what we've accomplished, we turn to our survey results. So if you value MPU University in any way, please do complete the survey and let us know if there's anything you think we can do better, what you appreciated from this class, what you learned from the class. We do not include recordings of presentations in the follow-up. However, every single one of our classes is on YouTube if it is recorded. YouTube.com, and it's under MPU Atlanta. All of our classes can be found there. All right, thank you all for being here and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Oh, thank you. We do rock, Shonda. Good to see you. Hey, Tara. It's so good to see so many of our City of Atlanta coworkers here. Good to see y'all. All right, we can lower the thing now, the slide. I like driving my own slides because y'all just, whoo, child.